and that is a wonderful thing to be in touch with and to be able to share with others. In our one-to-one that I had with Scott, one of the things that we were talking about was we reflected a little bit on some time he spent with a grandchild who's 18 months old, who is now ambulatory, and how when you're learning to walk, that's you're really present with that because you're stumbling, you're hesitant, and your space is changing and your interaction with space, and then it fades backwards as you get better at walking, running, whatever, and it becomes muscle memory. And I wonder, as we add to all of our experiences in life, do we be as we become older, reflecting as probably the eldest here right now, do we become less willing to be in touch with, or less able to be in touch with, the wonder and the newness of that which we encounter? And to hear you in your during all of the work that you were doing and all the pressures, you were able to experience and share or reflect on that with us, and that was really, really wonderful. Um, and your critique is right on, and something that we need to face in order to address. And it's not going to be easy because we are all white folks, and that is the challenge. I think that we have in a predominantly white culture that we live in. So anyway, I'll stop there. But thank you, thank you, thank you.
Um, I've been volunteering at Vacation Bible School this week, and so like Michael, I've really been inspired by these kids and how bright and interesting and fun they are. And Meg, you're way older than the Vacation Bible School kids, but I appreciate again your perspective and the freshness of your perspective and your ability to really say important things and call us on things. And I've been at probably 3 or 4 meetings where you've shared stories or things like that, and they've all stuck with me and inspired me, and not just been something in the meeting, but something I've carried with me. And so thank you so much.
Meg, I really, really appreciated your story, and thank you so much for sharing it and sharing yourself with us for this internship. And I was thinking back to our litany of welcome, and you are not alone, you have a place among us here, as the line we repeat after each paragraph in that litany. And it's almost to the point now where I want to say that together out loud as part of the way we do this. That's very Episcopalian worship kind of thing. But the reason that struck me so much is my younger son did an AmeriCorps year in Cincinnati. I think we may have talked about this before. He graduated from his master's program in Toronto in 2021 and had his second year of school online, and just felt really isolated and dysregulated by that whole experience, and came out into a job market that was non-existent and is still struggling to figure out how to become fully employed in his field of study. And it just, that common experience of your generation, I think, is so different from the experience of my generation. And I appreciate, hearing it not just from my children, but from someone else. And really appreciate you showing up in this space to represent yourself. The other thing that Janet and I talked about a lot was your critique. And it's a really good critique, and it's something Janet and I talked about and thought about and have thought about a lot. And I'll let Janet speak to this too, but I have found for myself, it's going into BIPOC-led organizations as trying to be a good ally. And this thing that we do here, building relationships, is what you have to do in those other spaces. And you have to be your authentic self and come into those spaces and be a friend and be a good ally. And then that can come back into this space. And so that's the next step. And I think about our church too. St. Michael's is very white. It's interesting, the people that are multicultural and that our BIPOC community members tend to be younger. And so and we have a relatively multi-generational congregation. But the older generation, my generation, is definitely almost all white. So anyway, thanks for the critique. Thanks for your story.
Lauren and I were remembering together, Meg, the story that you shared in one of our meetings about the young woman who was in your AmeriCorps program and shared that she had become pregnant, and that you were your immediate response was, "Oh, but now you can't go to college. You know, all of your hopes and dreams, or all of my hopes and dreams for you have been shattered." But you checked yourself and you stopped and you asked her how she was feeling about that, and she was joyful. And that was just, speaking of stories that have stuck, I mean, that really moved me that when you shared that story, and how amazingly you worked through that so quickly and turned it around. And that has stuck with me, and I've shared that, and makes me think twice about how I respond. And thank you for sharing so many stories, but especially that one.
Yeah, Meg, I wanted to also thank you for the stories that you shared. I thought you're a great speaker, and really able to, you have very good insight into things and able to just share it, and really openly and candidly. It's been lovely to see, and thank you for being here.
Meg, I just wanted to add, since we're heaping on the praise here, and I don't know you, it's pretty evident to me within the first little bit of just hearing your story that you have a high emotional IQ. And I think that is something that really draws me in wanting to collaborate, because there's been such a loss of and disconnect to our emotional body and our physical bodies in this society, from just trauma fallout. And so I really see that you're aware and of where you can draw better boundaries and find more balance. And just the way that you're talking, the way that you addressed this woman that was pregnant, there's just ways that it comes up across to me that you're on a really good track in with your emotional growth and intelligence. And I just want to point that out and appreciate it in you.
Meg, I'll jump in and just say what a pleasure it's been to work with you over these months. And I don't want to let you go, but we have no choice. But I really want to stay connected personally, and hopefully maybe even organizationally. We'll see how that turns out. But one thing I've really appreciated about you is your flexibility. You are really good with rolling with the punches. I guess it's a bad metaphor, but as things arise that would throw anyone kind of off balance, you've been very graceful and gracious and how you've responded to those. Been gracious with me when sometimes I've dropped the ball. And I was going to talk about your maturity, your emotional maturity. So another way of saying emotional IQ, just have really been sort of in awe of that. And I was certainly not like that when I was where you are in life. So, yeah. And I just think you give me hope that there's folks in your generation that are going to rock the world and really change the world, and maybe help us get past this really bizarre black hole our culture seems to be in right now. And just thank you for your open-heartedness with the Elahe folks. and with us, just your authenticity and your honesty. Thank you for your critique. Thank you for some of the other critiques you shared with me of just some aspects of how the internship was hard at times. And those are good learnings for us. And yeah, on the racial piece, it really generated a really, I think, constructive conversation for Peter and me. And I hope that we can continue talking about this in future meetings, and how we can do a better job becoming a more multiracial and multicultural organization. So anyway, I don't want to belabor the point, but I just really have enjoyed you and appreciated you, and so glad you applied for this position and were our partner for the year.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. And I get some time with Meg this afternoon for a longer, fuller debriefing of their internship, and I'm looking forward to that very, very much. David, I noticed what you just put into the chat about your own interest in sharing about some of your work, which I benefited from in our one-to-one, and not just your work, but what it is that you are thinking about in relationship to that. Do we have anybody signed up to share this story for next week already? Would you like to do that next week, David? Would you like to share our story and kind of take that slot that Meg did? And we would love that. That would be great. And then our one-to-ones will riff off of that, and we can come back. That would be, I can tell you all, you're in for a treat just from the limited amount I got to hear from David.
I'd really like to do that. And I'm just curious if that, what the time line for that would be.
We started this by practicing. We can always make adjustments like we did today for Meg, and I'm sure be thrilled to do that for next week with your story too. We started this by because of that practice on sharing our stories, practice 3, we recognize how powerful our stories are as a source of change. And we were trying to kind of cultivate our 2 to 3 minute story and practice it with one another. And then we kind of went out to like 5, and then sometimes it's 7. And then times like this where we just say, you know what, we want to take a little more time to hear somebody's story. So I for one, would be interested in taking a little more time next week to hear David's story. Okay, I'm seeing thumbs up and heads nodding. And so what for you, David, would feel like kind of so we can just budget it, plan it into our time. What for you would feel like a good amount that wouldn't make you feel rushed, and you could share a good piece of that?
Probably, and I don't want to stretch anybody's imagination here, but I as I mentioned to you, Robin, that there's a presentation that I have given lots of times about my work, and I think I could cut that down and make it more of have a more personal application pretty easily, because it's already kind of oriented that way. And I think that it would be good to do it in like 30 or 40 minutes, and then maybe talk about it for 5 or 10 minutes, have some questions. Does that seem possible?
Well, so I'm thinking of 2 options, which we could so one would be to do that and to say that's going to be our primary thing for the week, which for that Thursday, which I'm totally open to. Another would be, we also do things at other times where we intend, and sometimes we choose times that are more convenient for more people. And then we put it out to the EcoFaith community and say, we're going to have a special event that's going to be focused on this, and we're going to have more time to hear from somebody. We're still probably going to have one-to-ones and then some conversation, questions, feedback. So that would be, and I'm going to open this up to the group to say what your thoughts are. And then we try to do it at, maybe it's like an evening time or something like that, that is more conducive